take it away.
Great. So we have a bunch of topics. I just wanted to get quickly to the follow-up topics so we have some progress.
Yep.
And one of the things that I was interested in is CSS modules, because I want to have single file components. And one of the things Magnus said from last time is, let's try this out and just forget the single file part. So I updated a hello world example to use this one loader, and it's working. So the class names are generated, and I also have an open pull request on it.
Yeah, on the hello world Imba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can Imba hello world something. Let's see. Yeah, so I've assigned it to Sindre.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can review it.
Yep.
And I still don't know how we're going to get to a single file component because this is Webpack stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to, if Magnus could go into detail on how are we going to reach a single file component from this, now that this is working.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't actually. Oh man, the echo is very strange.
Just remove your headphones.
Okay.
Once.
So now I'm not listening to you, Eric, because the echo and the feedback is so terrible here in the office. So I haven't actually thought about how to do this. I just assumed that Webpack is so powerful that we can solve it. But now that you've actually done the first part, I guess I can look into how to do the second part.
It probably still is. You can probably hack around it somehow and just use the Webpack style loader thing, the CSS loader. But at the same time, you would probably need to introduce some sort of new syntax to like.
Yeah, or I guess the way I thought about it was that you would parse the Imba file and then very easily at compile time detect what are the style sheets or the CSS content of that, and then somehow export that and create a separate loader for it. So you have like a separate Imba style loader that you use in Webpack, and then that will take as input the Imba file name, and it will use the Imba parser to, but then only extract out what looks like CSS module declarations.
But I guess you would still need some sort of syntax for, like when you use CSS module loaders.
Yeah.
Then, sorry, 1 second. Now you unmuted your microphone.
Oh.
So please mute it again, because I have so much feedback. This is a perfect audio setup.
Actually, I muted you.
Cool. Now, in CSS modules, you do at the top do like import this variable, this class name, that class name from something. We would need some similar syntax to do the same thing if it's in the same file, I guess.
Yeah.
There's no way to just. So yes, we would need additional syntax, Imba syntax, to do single file components.
Yeah, but if we do the one approach Magnus was talking about with the separate loader, do we really need syntax changes?
Do you see the chat now in the Imba community meeting notes?
Yeah.
Have you looked at that?
No, I haven't. Let me open it up. The feedback. Let's see. No. This looks interesting.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do, instead of tag, you could do like style or something like that.
Yeah.
And then have style Sass, style stylus, style CSS, whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. But do you think you should also then Like, should that just be plain styles, or should they somehow work like CSS modules where the class names are actually obfuscated and made unique for each file, so that you don't
I'm not
have
too
any style
experienced with
collisions?
CSS modules yet.
Yeah.
But I've been using it like this. I just do the style there, and they're global styles. So sometimes they can interfere, but I just use specific classes or specific IDs.
So this
But
is
it's
actually,
nice just to have it in one file.
yeah. Is it actually just a parcel plugin? So it's not
I think so.
modifying
It's just
Imba at
parcel.
all? Oh, that's
Yep,
cool.
I don't think so. You could
should
talk to him
definitely
about
look
it.
into that.
Yeah, I've been using it on a personal project, and it's very fun for me.
Cool.
Keeps it neat and organized for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Very cool.
interesting. I have to check that out. So that's basically what I had on the CSS modules thing.
Yep.
Sindre, could you follow up on the ES6 rewrite?
Yeah, so it's probably not a surprise, but I haven't had a ton of time to look into that now. I've been on a vacation, and we had a deadline for the research project for Gitsby. Magnus and I have talked about it, and it seems to me like the obvious next step of Imba is to start using many of the ES6 features to shed a lot of dirty and bug-prone code from the compiler, and also support new features like for-off loops, like real for-off loops and iterators and things like that. So it's still, the next step here is to map out the actual things we can replace with ES6, and maybe also do some, like Imba has pretty extensive support for optional parameters in functions with default values, also optional like keyed variables, keyed arguments and stuff like that. And it's probably better to remove some of the special cases there and just add support for optional variables as they are in ES6. That way we can also use object destructuring and things like that all over the place. That would be a huge, I think it would clean up things nicely, and it would also just be better. Like people are using especially object destructuring a lot these days, it seems, when you read ES6 code. And even though I'm not too comfortable with it because I haven't used it a lot, it seems like that's the way people right now, basically. So object destructuring and basically using native ES6 classes for off loops, etc., are the top priority for general Imba development, I think. I'm not sure. What do you think, Magnus?
No, I think everything you said makes sense, and yeah, those are the most important. Yeah, another thing is the module system and import syntax to make the import system match up. Because right now it has the same syntax but different semantics, and that's the worst thing.
Yeah.
So and that's also, but that's a rather big breaking change, though.
Yeah.
So all of these other things, I think, is fairly non-breakable.
Yeah.
But the module system is tricky.
Yeah.
So when you say the module system, does that include dot accessor and colon?
No.
No.
It's just about importing.
Okay.
So just about import from.
Yeah. So the syntax for import from is translating to ES6 in a slightly different way. Or it's not translating to ES6, but it looks like the way you do imports in ES6, but it's not behaving the same way when it comes to default exports and these things. And I think that can be pretty confusing for people.
Yeah, and I think it's just like we just need to switch over to the new ES6 syntax. I don't think there's anything better or
No.
worse with
Yeah.
the way it's in Imba today. Now
Yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah.
And then it's not like we should fight for our own syntax.
No.
We should just embrace the other one. But it's going to break applications. So that might be a more a flag initially.
Yeah.
Or we need to do the transition smooth.
But at the same time, it's better to do sooner rather than later because there aren't that many big applications in Imba today.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
So hopefully we're gonna get some progress on that.
Yeah, for the next meeting, I'll try to at least have a more formal write-up of the different features that we can move over to ES6 and what parts of the compiler we can get rid of. I had a goal of before this meeting to actually implement the new for off loops that we discussed last meeting, but as I said, I haven't had time, so hopefully for the next meeting.
Cool. And then another topic was Glush. We talked about the Imba, and I don't remember everything that was said, but
Yeah, so the summary there was that we talked about how we can use Glush to specify the parser in a cleaner way. So right now the Imba parser has a lexer, which is handwritten.
Yeah,
or
but
is it generated from something?
no, the lexer is handwritten.
Yeah, and then it uses a parser that uses JSON.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I've been working on this project Glush, which hopefully should be able to do everything in one sensible system. But I haven't been able to look at it, and Glush is not really ready to go. It's not like it's all ready, so I need to do some more work on first Glush itself, and then I need to look how to apply it to Imba. So I don't think I have time for this these 2 weeks, but it's certainly on my list of things to do. It's just about when I will find time for it.
And it's not a very important thing. It's more of a future. It would be extremely nice if it was possible, because the lexer and the rewriter are by far the worst parts of the Imba compiler today. They are very messy and makes it pretty difficult to do big syntax changes in the language.
Yeah, so this is not something that will, like if we're doing bigger changes in the syntax or in the parser or somewhere, having this done already would make it easier. Yeah. But it's not really blocking at the moment.
Yeah.
And we can do a lot of stuff without this.
Yeah. Cool.
Eric, you added documentation to the list. Maybe you could walk us through those topics.
I think you're muted. Yeah.
Where are we? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've kind of been writing my own documentation for Imba for the last year or two. I've been trying to just go over every little tiny thing of Imba, just try to understand it. And I don't even know if I'm explaining it correctly to myself, but one of the things that I was confused about is the @ syntax, and also a few people in the chat, I noticed they constantly ask about that for props, the @ symbol for props. Like in some cases you need to use it, some cases it seems like you don't need to. If you go to the link there that I put, I'll drop it in the chat there also. Just at least to clarify, like why we need it, when we need it, do we need it, and why. Something to add to the documentation, I guess.
Yeah, I guess Magnus can also talk about that, because both Magnus and I come from the Ruby world. And for people who come from Ruby, it seems very kind of obvious, because so we haven't, in the documentation, we're not really explaining the difference well enough, because there is a clear-cut difference between using @ symbols and just using methods. The concept of a prop is, the prop is not something magic. How am I going to say it? the prop is just generating two methods for you. It's generating a setter method and a getter method. And these methods will return the instance variable, the thing with the at symbol in front of it. But so if you have defined props, you can always just use the prop, like don't use at in front. But we really need in the documentation to really explain the difference and what an instance variable is, because you could have instance variables without defining props at all. I'm not sure if you have any input on that, Magnus, since you're also a Ruby wizard from back in the day.
Yeah, I feel like this is also related to the fact that we have implicit self and implicit calling and implicit many things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of related to that. So it's because because there's an implicit calling. That's why the state, or in this example, in the prop, like in the link, there we have an example with a state property and the state instance variable. And the reason why they look so similar is because there is an implicit calling there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of something to look into, because we've also been talking about how much implicit we should go for.
Yeah.
And I think if this was using an explicit method call and explicit self, it would make probably more sense what was happening there.
That's a good.
So I think we need to take that into account, both how to explain it, but also like in the future, if we are getting like removing some implicitness because it's easier to understand, or I mean, it's all about learning, I think, because ultimately in Ruby there's implicit self and people don't struggle with it. But obviously when people come from JavaScript, where that's not a concept, it's you need to teach it. Yeah, and there's also a question of whether it's worth having the extra sugar there or not.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good not idea, but.
I don't know if you guys know, but like Imba is my first programming language. I've been learning it kind of the same time I've been learning JavaScript. Because I wanted to learn Imba, I started learning JavaScript so I could understand Imba. But the syntax and the way that it works, I think it's so beautiful that people could technically use Imba as their first language to build their apps and learn how to code. Because I think the way you think through Imba, it's a little bit simpler, at least the code.
Yeah.
So my goal is in making documentation for myself is how can I help somebody who does not know coding principles just using the Imba syntax. So I think Imba really could be a replacement for JavaScript in a way for a lot of beginner coders to learn how coding principles and.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's a very different, like how you would teach someone the language is very different for a person coming from knowing no code at all, from coming from JavaScript and coming from Ruby. Like these three different, and the people coming from Ruby, that's the minority, I guess. It's very interesting to, so since I come from Ruby, I haven't really taken the time to explain and try to document all the things that seems obvious when you come from Ruby, because that's Ruby is still the language that Imba draws by far the most inspiration from. When it comes to at least semantics. So, but things like instance variables and prop syntax, as you explain here, isn't that very confusing for someone who comes from not knowing programming to sitting there and wondering like, why the hell do I add an @ sign in front of state here and not there?
Yeah.
I guess that is very confusing.
Sorry, I missed some of the dialogue because I had to go.
Yeah.
But, I have some follow-up topics for documentation. So if I remember correctly, Eric had some issues running the imba.io site locally.
Yeah.
the feedback.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry.
I'm just gonna move it for a moment. Let's see. So, have you tried running Imba.io recently?
I have not tried it recently. That's probably a few months ago.
Hmm.
Then it should probably work
could-
now, shouldn't it? After your
Yeah.
changes, Alexander?
I could try. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome because there's documentation fragmented all over the place.
Mm.
So I'm thinking we could. I'm just gonna take off the headset for a moment so I can speak normal. Sorry.
Yep.
So yeah. So what I'm trying to say is it would be nice to get the documentation more centralized or focus on Imba.io because I've seen that Eric is writing a book and I think that's great. And there's also this another person who also started on a guide.
Mm.
So what I'm going to try to focus on is polishing Imba.io and taking the feedback from people and then just making that better.
Mm.
And I'm interested in getting you, Eric, on board on that because it seems like you're very passionate about documentation and you've already written stuff in Spectrum and on Gitbook. And I think it would be beneficial for the community if we had like Imba.io is the go-to place for Imba documentation.
But,
does that make any sense?
But maybe it makes sense still to move the documentation to something like Gitbook, or at least it looks like when you go into it, it looks more more polished and cleaner and easier to navigate.
Gitbook is pretty easy, and I told them it's for an organization, a nonprofit organization, and they gave me free, unlimited everything.
Yeah.
So we can do as many pages as we want and stuff like that. So
I would prefer if we kept it on Imba.io because currently one of the challenges we have is that there aren't that many examples. So if you could focus on polishing the repositories, which we already have, people have more code examples.
Mm.
I haven't used Gitbook personally, but I'm familiar with the markdown files and that. But like, I think we can have more flexibility if we run it on Imba.io, for example, the code samples and also extending markdown. If we want to do really interesting parts. If you look at the ViewPress documentation, they're doing some cool stuff. And I think we can learn from that. And I think running on Gitbook and running that as our main documentation tool will set some limitations on what we can actually do. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely eventually it should be very custom. Gitbook right now just provides an easy, low friction way for me to just go in and edit and tweak and share what I'm working on.
Mm.
So I had to take off the headset a couple of times. I'm not sure I heard everything that was said. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
He basically agreed with you, but said that Gitbook is a low friction way for him to edit stuff and get it out.
But are you are you going to focus on the Gitbook stuff, or are you interested in helping out fixing Imba.io?
I'm interested in helping .io as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I definitely want you guys to review my own my explanations of stuff because I don't understand concepts as you guys do. So it's just my thought processing from a beginner's perspective. Yeah.
And another good thing, to get back to the actual thing Eric added to the meeting notes there, to the agenda.
Yeah.
It would be good to try to do a shared cast with Eric and really try to explain the difference between and like using and a regular method call. Because when you start getting into that, and when you, especially when you look at it and aside the compiled output that is compiled to JS, then when you start to really understand what's going on, it will probably be a lot easier for you to write the documentation and eventually possibly create a course as well, as we talked about as in the meeting notes there. So we could try to.
If you guys really want to make sure that you're explaining it well for a beginner, I'm the right one.
Yeah. It's perfect, and you're a good teacher, so you can then explain it for other beginners later.
Yeah, sure.
Nice.
So we could even what's the time where you're?
I am. It's almost 1 o'clock here, so I'm think 5 hours ahead of you guys.
Oh, okay. So when are you?
I'm in
How long are
Cambodia.
you available today?
Let's see. I have a little bit of time after this until for 1 more hour until
Okay.
2 o'clock my time.
Cool.
But we can
So-
definitely schedule some time later.
So I could do like half an hour or something after this meeting,
Okay.
if you're interested
Okay.
and just try.
Yeah, sure.
Just show us Scrimba cast and just show kind of the difference. I'm not a very good teacher, but I can try to just show you the actual. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm a little rusty on my Imba. It's been a few months since I worked on my projects.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Alexander?
Yeah, that's a good transition to the next topic from earlier on the course. So, Eric, is this something you could be interested in?
Well, I emailed Per recently, and he asked me about it. I'm currently making a huge course for the organization I work with. It's but not a programming language. It's an actual language, the Cambodian language.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of really, really busy with that. It's going to take a long time to finish.
Yeah.
But I could start working on it maybe here and there, but probably not really until next year. And then we're expecting a baby for next year, and who knows what's going to happen there. So I can't really commit to a full-time production of a course. But if it's something that's supplemental to like documentation and things like that, I can work on stuff here and there.
So we've actually, like, we haven't decided yet, but we are considering, like, Alexander and I, that we are going to sketch out the course every Monday, like spend most of the day every Monday to sketch out an Imba course. And it could be cool in the end if you would like to at least do the actual teaching in the whole or parts of the course.
Okay, keep me in the loop, and once you're done with something and you send that my way, maybe I can find time little by little to work on it rather than all at once.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. So next,
I'm just going to write that down so we don't forget it.
Yeah. Will purpose.
Yeah, so the next stuff is the open pull request.
Yeah. Again, just like last week, it feels like I just haven't had the time to really look into that. And I know it's kind of a big thing. And I also know that there are some syntax challenges, and I'm still hesitant to merge in something like that without really going in through the details and considering every other option on how to do the to-do slots. But so I think sadly we just need to delay it for. I don't want to close it because it seems like a useful and decent implementation, but I don't think it's ready to be merged yet. Mostly because we haven't really discussed it enough.
Yeah, and I know, but I was thinking on with regards to progress.
Yeah.
So, like, should we try to communicate something?
Yeah.
Because right now there is an issue which is open, but it's not really active.
Yeah. I do agree. Let's see.
Ahmed Tariq had he just commented that he's gonna release soon a fork that he did on Imba with a stable implementation of slots. I don't know if you guys heard of that.
That was from the chat, right?
From the chat, yeah. September 25. At least my time zone.
That's Atif 23, right? At Indo?
No, I don't think so.
His handle is push QRDX.
Ah, yeah.
That should be somewhere here.
September 25, at the beginning of September 25. Maybe our time zones are different. So.
Yeah, I think it's the time zone. Oh, there.
There it is.
So do you see it, Sindre, on the screen?
Yep.
So maybe try to get in touch with him to see what he worked on, see if it saves you some time.
Definitely.
Did I get the name right? So let's see. There was one character was off there.
So this seems like an actually pretty substantial fork, I guess.
Maybe we could ask him to open up pull requests so we can see how that would work with the current code base.
Yeah, it would be very interesting if he could first bring it up to speed with master. I think that's probably pretty easy. I see he hasn't committed anything since February. And then possibly get him onto the next meeting or something and have him go through the changes, or at least do that with me and see if we can merge most of it back in. But I fail to, is this slots thing he's implemented, is that pretty, that's different from the slot child feature in the 168 pull request, right? That's a different, yeah.
No, how is it different? Like, isn't the pull request talking about slots as well?
Yeah, but I think it's a completely different proposal for slots, as far as I can see. But it is interesting. Let me see. This is just class.
Yeah, anyways, we can get back to this later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next topic is branding.
Yeah.
So Eric, could you go through this?
Okay, well, designed a logo for Imba. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback, but if you guys are good with it, I mean, we're ready to. I'm ready to provide the assets needed to put it everywhere.
Yeah.
I've been using it on the stuff I've been working on for Imba.
And I really like it, even if I haven't switched over Imba.io yet. And that's just laziness on my part. So I'm go. I think Alexander talked about that he wants some sort of mascot.
Yeah, I really want the mascot, but it's a personal preference.
And I think you could make a kind of a cute mascot from the favicon version of Imba, like the tiny thing. If you really did that, you could add some eyeballs or something to the eye with the wing on its back.
I'm thinking I've thought of a mascot already, and I'm thinking it could just be added too. So like Imba can have its own logo, and then a mascot could still be there, used in documentation or future videos or whatever we do. At this point, a mascot is kind of time consuming for me. I'm not that fast of an illustrator. But that's definitely something we could bring someone in to do, a mascot, like really well designed or illustrated mascots. Sure, we could find some people on anywhere, Instagram or whatever, that do stuff like that.
I think until we have that mascot, it's still better to change the logo over to the new one.
Oh yeah. I think we don't need to wait for the mascot, but it's definitely something good it'll be fun to have, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that, Magnus? I guess you haven't looked into the branding at all for some time, so.
No, I really like the logo.
Yeah.
But the only thing is the favicon looks very much like Ryanair's Ryanair's logo, especially with the colors.
Yeah, I think that's the color.
And I think it's mainly the color, because I really like the concept itself with the wings. But with the blue and the yellow color, and when I just look at the favicon, it looks like I'm at the Ryanair's.
Yeah.
But maybe
it looks like what? Like what? Sorry, can't hear it.
Or maybe
Ryanair, the airplane
Ryan?
company. Ryan Air. It's like a cheap European. It's Europe's biggest cheap airline.
I've never been to Europe.
Okay.
But I could look into that and make some tweaks and make sure it's not too close. But yellow, it's not very well used in the world of frameworks and languages. It's in JavaScript, which is more appropriate. But it's not like, React and the big frameworks and stuff. They use different colors than the yellow. So I thought I'd kind of claim that corner of the colors for Imba.
So maybe we can at least see if it helps to just, because I totally agree with Magnus. Once you've seen the Ryanair logo and know about it, the favicon looks like that. But you could try with
like,
a different color.
I'm on ryanair.com, RYAN, right?
RYANair.com, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me see. Maybe they changed their own logo. No, yeah, it's
like it's like a harp or something, and
kind of a harp,
it's yellow.
And then doesn't it look like a woman?
I
wings?
wouldn't consider it that close, but
no.
I will say it's only in the favicon that I see it. Like when I see the Imba logo big, then I didn't think about it. But when I had your Git book open here, then like the first thing I thought about was was the Ryanair.
Okay.
So it's just like
But at the same time, the favicon for Ryanair is actually blue. But it's not a big thing. I think it's mostly the color, and at the same time, it's not a huge problem that some.
I'm not too concerned of infringement or anything like that.
No. I guess it's not about infringement. It's just when you know about Ryanair, especially what Ryanair represents, because it's a really, really cheap and tacky and bad airline, sort of.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
But Eric, could you open up pull requests to all the projects like Imba.io and the Imba project?
For
open a pull request with the logo, with the branding?
Yeah, with the logos.
Yeah, I could do that. Okay.
Cool. Perfect. I remember you also, I've been thinking about that for a long time as well, to have kind of a redesign of the website, and you had some good sketches for that as well. I just haven't, I talked to Alexander about it, and we agreed that it's more important, at least for now, to get the documentation up to speed and to do
for sure.
a big rewrite of the site. But we can, at the very least, we can get the new logo in there. So
yeah.
Cool. Alexander, should we jump to the next?
Yeah, I was just thinking about what you just said with regards to the Imba.io branding. So if you have the design assets for those, I would love to see them, just to get an overview what you've been thinking.
I think they are in the Imba brand, either the Imba brand repository or the regular Imba repository. I don't remember. So one of them.
Yeah,
Does that show you a new layout or something? Or?
Yeah, it's a layout and just a splash, like a hero front page. And
yeah, well, I can take a look at that.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree. Like right now, we're focusing on cleaning up the content, making the build process work for everyone, and also trying to get much more examples in there.
Yeah,
but it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sounds good.
Nice. Cool. So next topic is Hacktoberfest, which is very new to me. I didn't really know about it, but I was thinking maybe we can use this as an opportunity to encourage more people to contribute to Imba. So we could, for example, pick out couple of issues where people can help out.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can also, how do I say this? Like, we could also do some Dev.2 posts that are related to Imba, and then mention Hacktoberfest.
Yeah, I haven't heard about Hacktoberfest until now, so I don't even know what that is. But
okay, that's so I think what it is like an event that's supposed to encourage you to contribute to open source.
okay.
So if you just search for Hacktoberfest, let's see.
DigitalOcean.
So basically, you're supporting open source, and some people are giving out stuff like T-shirts, stickers, and other things. So basically, we could make it easier for someone new to contribute to Imba, and this way get new people to check out the project. Basically.
Yeah.
I can add a link to the document. Let's see.
That's a good idea.
So it's basically marketing for us, at least.
Yeah.
Is anyone interested in joining on this?
Sure. We can. I think like getting totally new people to contribute to Imba is probably premature, since we already are struggling with letting experienced people contribute. But it's a good idea to try to create some sort of buzz around that. And yeah.
I was thinking maybe we can just find a couple of low-hanging fruits.
Yeah.
I think there might be, yeah, I don't have an overview of all of the issues, but we have several open on the Imba repository.
And we can definitely create, now that we have the new logo from Eric, we can at least print out some T-shirts and give them out, especially to the people who are already contributing to Imba. That would be cool to have.
T-shirts with the new logo. Cool, so that's what I had for Hacktoberfest. Magnus, do you have any thoughts on this or feedback?
Not really. I haven't thought about any good issues that I can think about, and I'm not sure about my own availability and what I can help out with. So I'm a bit unsure.
Eric, do you have any thoughts on this?
On the chats?
No, the Hacktoberfest, sorry.
Oh, sounds good. I don't know how much I can be involved right now.
Okay.
When is your baby due?
Sounds good. It's due April.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'm working on that other course, the language course for my organization.
Yeah.
Okay, then we can just move on to the chat section. And I think you wrote this down, Eric, if I remember.
Yeah, I wrote that down. So right now we have 3 current places where we communicate with people. Maybe I'm responsible for 2 of those. I opened the Gitter chat for Imba based on the GitHub, the new GitHub place. But we never made the switch on imba.io to go there. And then I heard about spectrum.chat and I started using that just to experiment with it. And I saw that it's really good because you can archive any conversation that you're having with people. So if a gem turns out, like somebody asks a question and you talk about whatever problem you're having and somebody drops the solution, you can archive that. And I really like that because then it works like a forum. So I don't know if you've been there, but if you go to spectrum.chat //Imba, and I have bugs that people have reported on Gitter, I will actually end up copy pasting and saving it on the Spectrum chat just because it's like a forum and I want to go back. So like when you guys are asking about a pull request or whatever, or you guys want to know like what questions people have, and I see them in the chat, I will drop them over in Spectrum chat, and I have like a question archive, or I have bugs and features, and I have like questions and stuff, and I just drop them in there.
Yeah.
But if we have the chat, the main chat, be the chat right there in Spectrum, it's even better, because then you can preserve all the usernames and all that and keep it all connected.
Yeah.
And if you go to learning and resources, I have put in there almost everything that I found about Imba, like guides and tutorials that different people have worked on, boilerplates, plugins, like tooling, real apps, and it just keeps it organized. I can organize the chat, which is what I don't like about Gitter. It's just you have to scroll up and up and up and up to try to find
Yeah.
old gems.
So the most important thing that Alexander has been pressing is that we need to decide on one place and go for it, like fully go for it.
Yeah. I vouch for Spectrum.
Okay. Yeah. I
gathered
yeah. I could agree. I guess it's just that it's at least it's not good the way it is now. That the main chat is basically a chat on a non-existent repository in Gitter, because that's how it works now. It wasn't possible in Gitter to seamlessly just port the whole room over to Imba / Imba. I'm not sure. What's your thoughts on this, Alexander?
I've been thinking, and I think I want to focus on getting the activity up.
Yeah.
So I would prefer to move to Telegram, but that's my personal preference.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to focus on this personally because like there's so many more important topics.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like Spectrum is awesome with regards to the resources and keeping stuff, and I think it's great that Eric set it up. So maybe we should make it more visible if it's not already visible on imba.io.
Yeah.
And then maybe come back to this topic on moving in maybe 1 year or something like that.
But could we try already? Like it's the sooner we move to at least to a single resource, the better, I guess. And most people probably. I'm not sure. Do you use Gitter for anything else than Imba now?
No, I only use it for Imba.
Yeah. GitHub bought Spectrum, so I'm guessing that they are kind of invested in Spectrum going forward. We could try if we decide to move to Spectrum. What's problematic about that if we actually update all the links to the chats both on Imba.io and in the README and start posting on the Imba chat in Gitter?
There's nothing wrong with that. We can just start doing immediately.
Yeah.
But I'm still gonna go to Gitter and check that on a daily basis, basically.
I think people keep coming back to the Gitter, like Zombies Imba channel, because that's the one that's most active. So I've seen a lot of people that will go check out the Imba lobby, and then some will come to Spectrum, and then it's not active, so then they end up going back to the other one. So I think people are willing to make the move to wherever. They just go where the people are.
Yeah. Do Spectrum have an iOS app as well?
They don't at the moment. They have a Mac app, but I saved it on. It's mobile friendly, so I just saved a browser on my home screen on my iPhone, and I use that. And currently, the Gitter app on my phone hasn't been working. It will glitch and skip dates back, so it's been annoying. So I ended up saving the Gitter page also as a browser on my home page. Because the app is not working. So that works fine for Spectrum for me. And most of the time when I'm worrying about code and stuff, I'm going to be on my laptop. So I use Spectrum on my laptop most of the time.
Let's see.
Maybe that's something you could do, Eric. Just remove the Gitter links and then replace it with Spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome to do that. We can make a decision here now that we will try to move everything to Spectrum. And if that doesn't work out, like if there are problems with that, we can reevaluate in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something, and then possibly even move back to Zombie/Imba if that turns out to be what we need. But it is better to at least focus our efforts on one place, and let's say that will be Spectrum for now.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. So if you are able, if you're time constrained, you should just you can say that, and Alexander can probably do it. But if not, it's very cool if you update the links.
Okay. I could do it while I do the branding stuff.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
yeah, it's very cool.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
We went through a lot of topics, and then we need follow-ups for next time.
Yeah.
So we have to review everything from the start. So I think I can do the CSS stuff or the CSS module stuff and look into that based on the feedback I've received.
Yeah, you could look. You can try using the partial plugin as well. Maybe
Yeah.
even that is good for you. Like maybe that even is good enough for your use case for now.
Okay. And Sindre, could you repeat what you said earlier? You're gonna write a formal write-up something?
Yes, I'm going to go through the ESX stuff. Just basically create a markdown document outlining the things that we can port over to ESX, and consider like what it would take, the different parts, and hopefully, if I have time, start hacking on some of it in a separate branch or something on Imba. I still think documentation and teaching real-world examples and stuff are by far the most important thing to get traction. But it is good to have some development in the language itself as well. And for that, the ES6 rewrite is the most obvious one.
Cool. And you're gonna schedule a cast with Eric today on this?
Yeah, or we can talk about it just when we end the meeting. We could do it some other day this week as well. I'm available all week.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Let's see.
Probably better another day. I have the language tutor that helps me with my course come in about 40 minutes, and I haven't had lunch.
Ah, okay, that's perfect. It's very cool that you're creating a course while you're learning the language yourself.
Well, that's how I learn the best.
Yeah. But it's interesting. It's a
Yeah.
cool approach.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Eric, you're doing the pull requests for the branding and the chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will do the Hacktoberfest stuff with Sindre.
Yeah, we can already start like writing. I can write on Gitter now that we have decided to move everything over to Spectrum and just advise people to go there.
Yeah.
That link.
Sounds good.
As a start.
And what is Magnus doing? He doesn't have any follow-up topics.
He's just messing around with this Glush thing, which is going to be ready in a few years. Maybe Magnus can give some input on the ES6 stuff. I can talk to him about that on the side.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yep.
I don't have a lot of time in the next 2 weeks. Like I have tons of other stuff I need to do as well.
Yep.
That I need to catch up on. But if you can, feel free to ping me and I'll look into it.
Yep.
Great. That's everything then. So yeah, I'll start creating the notes for the next meeting, proposed agenda, and the follow-up.
Yeah.
And I will just write that in Spectrum this time.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
cool. Thanks for attending. The echo, sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks for attending, and I'm going to stop the recording now and publish it soon. Okay.
Very cool. Next meeting we're gonna have better audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Awesome. All right.
Bye.